So I created a quick tutorial to help you get started with creating your own levels within Ion Fury. So before you can start creating levels, you want to make sure that you go to your Ion Fury game and you want to have a copy of the game. You want to go to Ion Fury, go to Properties, go to Beta, make sure the Testing Public Test Build is on, and hit Close. Afterwards, go to this website. It'll be under furymap.lerppu.net and download this folder right here. Sorry, download the zip. After you download that zip, it should look like this. And unzip the files, by the way. Once unzipped, move those files to your Ion Fury folder. That's what I did. And within that folder, you should now see Mapster. But before we do that, we need to get more of the textures and other scripts from the actual game. So to do that, you have to unzip this folder right here. You want to right-click if you have 7-zip and extract it to here. Within here, you'll then see all these new folders, but more importantly, you'll see this. This is the tile art for the game. And also, consider these your Lego pieces to create stuff within Ion Fury. So, what you do then, open up Mapster. Let me close all this out. Open up Mapster and set your desired settings for 2D and 3D video mode. This is important because we're going to be getting into this in just a moment. So these are my settings. Once you're happy, go ahead and hit start. Now let's take a look. I'm actually going to start a new one. This is like from a former tutorial. But notice your screen looks like this. You should see a grid and 2 arrows. One is white, one is red. The white one is, consider this your camera. This is you looking around your scene. To do so, hold the right click the mouse button, and then you can drag and move around with it. Left click lets you select sectors, but we're not going to get into that this very second. The red key is your player's start zone. By default, it's going to be somewhere within the grid, but there's no space. There's no 3D space for the player. So let's go ahead and create that. So you can zoom in and zoom out of the grid 2 ways. You can use the mouse scroll wheel if you have one, or you can use A to zoom in and Z to zoom out. Let's create a 3D space now. So to do that, we're going to hit the space bar. That creates us a vertex and node. Notice that it's going to follow my red crosshair, and that's going to be my second position for this node. So let's go ahead. I'm going to drag this out. I'll make this 2048. And I'll hit space again. That creates another node for me. If for whatever reason I do not like that node, I can hit the backspace button and it will take me back to the original node. So let's go ahead and get the right size here. I want to do 2048 by, let's do it again. Let's get a perfect square here. 2048. And then to complete a sector, you always have to bring it back to the original node. Unless we're working with like a red sector, but for the white sectors, you need to enclose them. And once you do that, you'll see this. If you don't see that, just hit the backspace bar and you can turn textures on and off. Okay? Now, to get into your 3D space, 1, your white arrow has to be within the realms. And then 2, you have to press the enter button on the number pad. Watch what happens when I'm not in the 2D space. It says arrow must be inside a sector before entering 3D mode. It won't work, but I have to go inside. Notice I'll hit the number pad enter. I'm inside. Once inside, use your right mouse button to look around. You can look up, down, left, and right, but you can't move. That's where your left mouse button comes in. The left button allows you to move around. Kind of lets you look, but you can't necessarily like look around. Like you can kind of, but most developers tell you to learn doing it this way with the left mouse button, just so you can easily move around your zone. It's the fastest way, if not in 2D. So, while we're in this realm, I'm going to show you how you can adjust the ceiling and floor height. To adjust the height of the ceiling, you can do it two ways. You can hold left alt and then aim at the ceiling. And then while holding, adjust the height. And same goes for the floor. You can adjust the height there. Let's see. Now, so we know how to adjust the floor height, and we know how to adjust the ceiling height. Let me show you how we can make this primitive shape a little bit more complex. So, if you want to, let's add another node inside the shape, right? You can hit the insert button right above the del button, DEL. You can hit insert, and it drops a point. And with that point, you can move it along the grid. If for whatever reason you don't want to move it on the grid, you can hit the L button on the keyboard, and notice it says grid locking off. With that, you can move it around anywhere. If for whatever reason you make a mistake along the way with this tutorial, you can hit Control Z and move back to the original position or whatever it was before your mistake. And it actually goes pretty far. So, next thing, let me show you the difference between the white sectors and the red sectors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another, so I'm going to, from this point, I'm going to move on to actually, let me grid lock again. There we go. Notice it's on. And let's just do, that's fine. And I'm going to connect it back to this node. My bad, sorry, this one. What is going on? Ah, I see the problem. Sorry, I had to restart. But see, sometimes you'll catch that. If it doesn't, like, if you make the shape and it doesn't connect, then you know something's being weird. So let me start again. Connect it there. And I'll go back up here. Boom. Notice now, let me just fix this corner. There we go. So notice now I have this red line here. Might be wondering, well, what does that mean? So let's take a look at 3D mode. Let's aim at that red sector and move it up and down. Oops, sorry, not that one. So what I did was created a new sector, and it actually is not joined in with this. Actually, I'll show you that in just a second. So let's do something here. Let's move this all the way up for just a moment at 32. And pay attention to the height of this room, right? If you can join sectors when we create them. Sometimes people will make a sector just to get like just a dimension, and then they'll join it back to the original sector to make it a part of that. So to join sectors, you use the J key. Press J on the sector you want to connect. Like, let's say I want to connect this. It'll turn green. Now it says at the bottom, join, well, it said a moment ago. You can pause it and see. It says join the sector that you want to connect it with. So I'm going to connect it to this one. Now notice that the floor dropped back to this sector. So the sector you connected with will take the properties on of that sector, including slope, I believe, which we'll get into in just a moment. Let's do Control Z and go back. If I join this sector, which was higher than this one, watch what happens. Actually, hold on. Watch the size before. See, it's at 32. Now watch it now. See? Now we're here at 32. So watch how you join sectors, because the first sector is always going to be the leader of the line, let's just say, right? Another cool feature is the C button. If you choose any, let's just choose an edge, right? Or a wall. This is a wall. Oh, let's talk terminology for a second. This is obviously a wall, and these are obviously sectors. So when describing or if you have troubleshooting problems, know terminology of what you're talking about. So while I'm looking at a wall, I'm going to press the C key. And notice that if I drag it out, I have a curve. This allows you to put curves on your objects. Try to, if you're going to, let me show you an example. Oops, sorry. You can make perfect circles so long as you apply the same curve size on the same thing. So here's this little square I just made. Watch this. So if you hit C, you can put a curve. Let's just put it on the, let's just do one per one side, just one curve module per each. And if you like your curve, just hit spacebar to include it. So with that, you can make a little bit more complex shapes, right? We're not having these primitive squares now. Now we're putting edges on our, we're putting curves on our walls. So, and this can work with the red sector as well. So this red sector kind of acts as both. It's both a wall and it's its own sector. And you can curve these as well. So look, if you hit C on this, you can drag it out, hit space. And now, notice that we kind of have a platform here. Looks kind of like a stage, doesn't it? So if you want to change the walls now, these walls are a little bit bland, right? Let's get something going here. Let's set this at the right line, 64. This will help with scaling too, right? So aim at the wall. And this can only be done in 3D mode. Aim at the wall and hit the V key. And you'll come up to this screen. This is your tiles sheet. This is, remember when we unzipped the Fury file? And that big Microsoft one, the 90,000 one, this is what that was. So if you hit E again, so you hit V, hit the letter V, now hit the E key, you can see all the tiles and sprites. So you can do it the old-fashioned way by scrolling and finding what you want. Or if you want to find something categorized, hit the T key. And you can see on my screen now, it has all different things like stone, tile, metal, wood, glass, grass, water. Let's set the floor to metal. So let's hit 3 on our top keys, and let's see, we're on the metal side, so we're only going to see metal objects and sprites and textures. I'm going to hit this. Actually, no, let's hit something else. This is the one I wanted. Let's just hit that. Why not? So if you want to, let me redo that for you. If you want to copy and paste a texture to another wall, the same exact texture, you can hit tab and then hit enter. Not number pad enter, just return key. And then hit enter again, and it'll paste it. If you want to change the wrap of the, not the wrap, the way it tiles, there you go on your number pad. The 2 key stretches it up, whereas the 8 key stretches it down. Do you see? 6 does the same thing on the right, whereas 4 stretches it. Hold on. If you hit the 6 key, it brings it closer, whereas 4 spreads it apart. If you want to find the best possible texture for a particular wall, or like the best way it's going to look on that wall, hit the Alt W, and then you can actually just copy and paste it on each wall. In addition, you can also, if for example, let's look at this, see how this is a smaller version of that? Let's copy and paste this on here. If this little piece of the wall doesn't match up with the rest, you can just hit period button and it'll wrap it along the wall. But for it to work, it must have the same texture. Like, look, it's not gonna, like, if I add this here, although it'll work, notice that it has, you'll still have to wrap it to make it work. See? Let's see that again. Let's put that in. And you have to wrap it on the... So the way it works is the same way the joining sectors work. You have to choose the wall that you want the objects to wrap around. So, like, you saw that I didn't hit this. I didn't hit period on this. I hit it on this one to match this wall. So the walls are one thing, but the floors and the ceilings are a different story. Let's take a look at that. So with the floors, once we put a texture in, we actually can't, when we use 4, 6, 8, or 2, we can't change the tiling, but we can change the panning of it. If you want to change it from one texture size to another for the floor, and this only works with the floor, hit the E key. There's a big version and a small version of the text. This is probably the big one. This is the small one. So use it based on the size of the location. Now with the sky or the ceiling, these are a little bit interesting. Hit V on this ceiling and then E. You have pre-made sky textures, but also if you're interested, I have a mod that I'm working on that has the sky texture more customized. But let's take a look at this. Let's choose number 6130. And notice we have a sky for right now, but it's not the actual sky that you may have seen in Ion Fury. That's because we didn't parallax it. So to do that, just hit the P key on the sky. And notice that now, wherever we go, right? The sky follows us, sort of like you have that effect when you're driving a car and you always feel like the sun's following you. Same effect. Now, one of the things that I wish I knew earlier before I actually made my sky pack was how to change the color of tiles and stuff. To do this, oh, see, check it out. See, this is a little bit off, huh? How do we fix that? Use the period key. Look at that. Now it fixes it. So, that being said, let's go back to the sky. Let's change the color of some things in our scene. For example, let's look at our sky. If you want to change the color of anything, you have to be in 3D View, and then also you have to hit Alt P. And you'll notice at the top left, I can't actually, I'll try to use a mouse thing to show you, but you can see that it says 0. So right now there's no color to it. If I hit 1, still no color. 2, 3, 4, 5. You can start, I'll actually link the palette that they have for, so you can see which palette is meant for what, because some of these have specific uses, like 62 is more of a contrasted. See? It's the same thing but more contrasted. So there's certain things that are used for each palette, but you'll learn that along the way. So let's set the palette to, I don't know, give me a nice dusk. Yeah, let's do red, just to change the difference. So you can actually do the same thing for the walls and ground. Let's do this. Alt P. 5. And then we can actually hit tab, enter, 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 enter. So let's see, what else can we talk about? So while we're in 3D view, remember we were talking about the player start zone, right? So let's go back to 2D view. Notice that it's right here. A little bit weird, right? Move your view mode using the right mouse button, and let's place it here. Now, while we're in 2D view, sorry, 3D view, A and Z, their keys change, what's it called? Functions. For example, A brings you now high. This is the same, oh, I forgot what it is in Unity, but this is the same if you want to change the way your camera scene pans in Unity. Z brings it down, A brings it up. Also, if you hold Alt while doing it, you can change the way you look at things. So you can definitely, if you need to look at something very specific, this is how you can do so. And I'll post the keys for that. So this is me holding Alt, and this is Z. Alt A, just tabbing it. So what I wanted to say is, when you're in this view, when you're using your a white arrow view mouse, right? It's going to correspond with the height, although it's not going to say it in 2D view. So pay attention to that when you're placing your start view. You want to make sure your character's on the lowest of the possible ground, or highest if you're going to start them from a higher view. So while I'm in this view and I'm on the low, I'm just going to hit enter, go back to 2D view, and right above your home key, right where your arrows are, there should be a screen lock button. Press the screen lock. I'm not going to do it because it's going to stop my recording. But if I pressed it, your red arrow should now move to your current location. And that'll be your player's new starting point. And you can do that to, if you're testing the map, you can do that to move around and do things. That's how you can test your map without starting at the same zone every single time. So let's go back to 2D view because I want to show you how to wrap things up and how to save. When in 2D view, make sure you hit escape. And when you escape, you notice the bottom tab opens. You'll have, if you press N on your keyboard, don't do it. You'll be new. L to load different maps that you have. S to save the current map. A to save as, like maybe you want a different variation of the map. Maybe you want to ask people, hey, do you like this style of the map more or this style? So you can make 2 of the same copies. T to test the map. Now, when you hit T, Steam should open up. And I'll say something along the lines of this, and just hit OK. Otherwise, it won't do anything. And I sat there for a very long time wondering why I won't test the map. But, yeah, that's basically it. And then when you're all said and done, you can hit quit. And when you ask if you want to quit, just say hit Y or N on the keyboard. Y for yes, N for no. It'll ask if you want to save. I'll say yes. And that's basically it. This is your basic tutorial of Mapster. I hope that in the second video, I'm going to show you how we're going to mess around with the tile editor. And I'm going to probably put a video out for how to mess with voxels and creating your own 3D shapes. So if you have any questions or if you see any mistakes that I might have said along the way, definitely feel free to let me know. I'm really not hard to find in the 3D Realms Discord chat. Have a good one.